this is Craig Coleman of the Signalisis Media Department. In today's episode, Bob Farrell and I interview NVH expert Chris Kuss of the automotive supplier company Faurecia. Chris gives us a little insight into his background and expertise in the NVH world and shares some past and present experiences while working closely with Signalisis. Let's have a listen. All right, Chris, what can you tell us about Faurecia?
Faurecia is the world's 8th largest Tier 1 automotive parts supplier. We have more than 300 locations in 37 different countries. I'm based in our North American headquarters in Auburn Hills, Michigan, but our global headquarters is in Nanterre, France. Our 4 main areas of automotive are automotive seating, interiors, exhaust systems, and electronics. We supply parts to nearly every major OEM. And the combination of our technology portfolio and global footprint positions us to be at the forefront of industry megatrends such as autonomous driving, sustainable mobility. And we look forward to supporting our customers as these innovations evolve.
What are your responsibilities with the company?
I'm North America's NVH expert. So I run a lab here in North American headquarters. I have responsibility throughout the life of the programs for all things related to sound and vibration, from design and design validation to production validation. Specifically seating, but I work also in the other areas such as like interiors or innovations.
How long have you been with the company, and what is your experience and background in the industry?
I've been here a while now. It's like 16 years. And I started just working in the NVH lab doing sound quality and vibration analysis. And so from doing that and working with the customer specifications, we learned kind of like how the customers have what they require, but it doesn't always match up to how you need to have it in the end to be able to have a pass-fail for sound quality. And so I got to work a lot in the lab, definitely with like microphones, accelerometers. And then I moved into modal analysis and kind of like the resonance frequency of seating. And kind of like if you have a seat shaking beside you whenever you're driving down the road, and how to increase stiffness or reduce damping in there, increase damping and reduce vibration. Then also we'd go to the proving ground roads, and we'd run our seats on the roads and see how they react if you hit the resonance frequency of the seat. And but lately we've been using the shaker table a lot more, so it's a lot easier to, instead of having to go to the proving grounds all the time, you can put it on a shaker table and just run the same profile over and over again.
From a manufacturer's perspective, what are the dangers of subjective quality testing?
Subjective, it changes. It's person to person, day to day. So 2 people can have very different reactions to operational sound. Some people could care less, and some people could be very picky about it. So we need a tool that's more repeatable, more reliable than subjective testing.
How is a subjective term like quality quantified for objective measurement?
Quality is it's subjective, but different sounds such as like motor sounds are repeatable. They can be broken down into simpler terms that are easier to approach, such as, when my voice has a certain signature to it, but then also whenever you're moving your seat, the automotive sound quality of a seat for whenever you're moving forward or rearward, it's a constant sound, and it has like a noise that you expect. If you've ever been in a power seat, normally you expect different noises with everything. So it's an expected sound. And so then other noises like with gearing can have different noises that can start to be a little less liked by the human ear. It's a good way to put it, I guess.
Right.
So subjective ratings, they can vary. And you have psychoacoustics that can be calculated repeatedly. And so we have a wave file that you play, you can always get the same numbers. It's not going to change. But if you have a sound or a song, if you even listen to a song, let's say, one day you can like it, one day you might not like it. So you can kind of change your rating based on that. Yeah, quality kind of changes subjectively.
So Chris, you mentioned one time the relationship between what an OEM or a manufacturer and the relationship of what they would receive from a supplier. And if the supplier's part is not up to the quality standards of the manufacturer or the end user, that reflects on the manufacturer, not necessarily on the supplier. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. So in automotive seating, whenever let's say you go to the car room, whenever car dealership to go buy your car, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to touch the handle and open the door, but then you're going to sit in the seat. And so you're going to adjust the seat so that you can reach the pedals. You're going to kind of feel out the car. You're going to start looking at the dash, but your first interaction is with the seat. And so if you run that seat forward and you kind of lift in, you get into position that's comfortable for you, and it could be the nicest, newest car in the world, but if it makes a bad noise, you're not going to say, this is a bad Faurecia seat. You're actually going to say this is like a bad GM or Ford seat. So it's going to reflect right to the OEM. So we have to be able to be the experts for that sound so that we can reflect better for our customers.
How do you take something as complex as determining quality and turn that into a simple pass-fail test?
Well, that's something, it took us a while because even our OEMs would, I think in the beginning, had a difficult time to be able to say what is passable, because a lot of what we used was basically energy, almost volume. So is it loud or quiet? You want quiet, and then every year you want a little quieter. But that's not necessarily good or bad sound. My voice, I'm talking at this level, and you're used to it, and so you assume that this is the correct level. And if I could increase or decrease my volume, it's not going to say if it's better or worse. So what we do is we start with a jury evaluation method. And so we have to kind of get a feeling for how people hear sounds and what they're going to think about these sounds, because you have to start with this objective. And so we ask different people to rate different sounds in a statistical method. And then using that, we use statistical-based methods to choose the correct psychoacoustics. And so there's different psychoacoustics that better reflect how the human ear perceives sound. Some of them aren't very useful. And so you have to be able to use those within a statistical model to be able to evaluate something on an objective level. And then from there, once you get that understanding and you get that and you do that study, then you can take it to be able to do something a little more difficult, which is to replicate like a pass-fail limit. Like to really say, at this point, this goes from good to bad, thumbs up, thumbs down.
How is Signalisis helping Faurecia meet its quality standards?
Signalisis not only helps us on setup of the software and equipment, they also help us with line support. It's not uncommon for them to have them in our plant for support or with different challenges we're having for our evaluations of new products or line settings. They work really as part of the team. They didn't have Signalisis shirts on, you'd assume they work for Faurecia when they're there.
Can you talk a little bit about your company's history with Signalisis, maybe when and why the relationship began?
I've known Neil Coleman for a long time. I met him about, I'd say 15 years ago, I'd guess, maybe 16. We worked side by side to implement some of the first methods developed and used by Signalisis to make the testing system fittable for our customers' specifications and more importantly, Faurecia specifications. And as experts in seating, it's on us to overall define what's good sound quality and what's bad. And so he really helped us to not only provide us with the tools that he provides, but to help use what we need, what we provide, and put it into like the software. And so, I remember working with him. He has a kind of a base of where we start, and then we develop from there. And then we have to also take that and implement that into our testing system. So one would be, put it in an end-of-line tester, and then he would take that and make it so control, a lot of control of everything. So it can, we have in production, everything has to go very quickly. So a seat will go in, it's tested, and then spit out. It has to be very quick. And during that time, it's going to be, we're going to take our recordings and we do our calculations based off that. And so he worked really close with us to be able to set that up and then make it even faster and more efficient.
Do you know why Signalisis was selected to help implement objective quality testing?
Well, Signalisis was selected because they used a very scientific-based method for implementing sound quality criteria. We needed a method to better see how the human ear perceives sound. Without Signalisis, Faurecia would have ended up using something that's more subjective-based, almost where we might have a method of just sitting there and listening to a seat over and over again. So we really needed to search for a better method, and Signalisis really did provide that. With them, they had many recommendations, and by using them, that's how we were able to move forward and get away from the more subjective nature and move objectively.
Do you have any interesting stories from the road involving our CEO, Neil Coleman?
Yeah, off the top of my head, a lot of times we would spend. You travel, you have to go somewhere. There's not much to do. You spend, 12 hours there. Sometimes you might walk and you see him there, and also it's someone you recognize. But afterwards, you spend a lot of hours putting things together, and then you get to go out to the restaurant. And I can remember one time, we just went out to a restaurant, just kind of relaxing. And I remember I just kept on going up and playing La Bamba. They're having someone request for music. I was having them play La Bamba all the time. It was a lot of fun. So anytime I hear La Bamba, I tend to think of you.
Okay. I'll have to remember that one. So where do you see the relationship with Signalisis going forward?
Signalisis has done a lot since we first met. And I know I see them at the tech shows. And we're using, still using things to having some new ideas. And I know that one thing they're doing is more with their metrics for evaluating seats. That's more based in accelerometer readings, get away from the sound booth chamber, and be able to take very similar measurements. This way you get rid of the expense of the sound chamber. And you can take a recording from the accelerometer and still evaluate in very similar method. And so that's important.
So during these days of COVID-19, I know Signalisis has changed a lot of procedures and processes. What has Faurecia done, and is it affecting you guys? And how much is it affecting you guys?
Basically affected everything. From the get-go, we fully shut down here. We were closed down. We weren't able to even enter the building. And then as it evolved and as, things started to open back up, we were allowed in just a few people. So I think I was one of 20 people working in a lab that were able to come back in with a large set of rules, wearing safety glasses, wearing a mask, and then changing the mask twice a day. So what Faurecia did, not only here but across with all everywhere. We're a large global company, and other countries as well. We all did basically the same type of thing with the shutdown. Then just trying to reopen very, very in a very clean manner so that everyone's well protected. And so, from doing that, it is different. It's different not being able to travel. A lot of things at the moment. We're not traveling right now. It's weird wearing a mask around. It's difficult talking to people and seeing their expressions. And, you don't know if they're smiling, and you definitely can't tell sarcasm.
For sure.
But for me personally, I work in a very quiet room, and I'm always by myself. You can't, it always has to be quiet around me for recording and evaluations. And so I was always already used to isolation, so it's not a big difference for me.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Chris. We appreciate your time.
No problem. Anytime.
Stay tuned to SMD Radio for more podcasts, interviews, stories, and more. If you'd like to get involved in the SMD radio podcast or have questions, please visit the Signalysis website at www.signalisis.com or email craig.coleman@signalisis.com.